We all know the Himalayas as the world's rooftop, drawing climbers from every corner of the globe. But Nepal also hides a temple where a child is worshipped as a living goddess, ancient towns frozen in medieval timber and brick, and mountains that hold marine fossils above 8,000 meters. In the shadow of Everest, a dusty marketplace called Namche Bazaar doubles as a hospital, a climatization classroom, and social stage for Sherpas. And in Upper Mustang, a forbidden Tibetan kingdom until 1992, wind-carved canyons protect monasteries where time seems to stand still. Annapurna Circuit climbs an astonishing altitude range of almost 5,000 meters, from river valleys under 800 meters to Thorong La at 5,416 meters. Do you know the Annapurna Circuit passes through more distinct climate zones than many entire countries, shifting from rice terraces to alpine deserts? The lower reaches around Besisahar and Cham smell of citrus and cardamom, with terraced fields and bustling markets that feel unmistakably tropical. A few days' walk brings hikers into pine and rhododendron forests above Manang, where stone lodges and mani walls signal a different cultural rhythm. Ascending toward Thorong La, the landscape narrows into windswept scree and prayer flags, and the air thins so quickly each step becomes measured and sacred. From the pass, you descend into Muktanath Springs and into the Kali Gandaki Gorge, an ancient seabed carved into one of the world's deepest valleys. Jamsam and Kagbani act as gateways to Mustang, where Tibetan-style houses and traders' stories remind visitors that this is a living trade route, not just a photo stop. Along the circuit, tea houses offer warmth and stories. Shepherds cross meadows with yaks, and night skies explode with stars so bright they seem close enough to touch. The route also chronicles geological drama, folded Himalayan rock, exposed fossils, and glaciers that continue to shape valleys and village life in surprising ways. From the high passes, the trail naturally reconnects toward Pokhara, where reflective lakes offer a gentler finale and mirror images of peaks trekkers have earned. Walkers who complete the circuit carry more than snapshots. They take home vivid contrasts, climate, culture, and geology braided into a single, unforgettable corridor. Annapurna's power is how it links remote villages, pilgrimage sites, and modern roads, asking each traveler to witness an ancient landscape that keeps revealing itself. Bhaktapur's Kathmandu Durbar Square hides one of the world's rarest urban palaces, its 55-windowed facade carved from centuries of Newar craftsmanship. Here the royal court once convened beneath towers that seem to whisper the names of kings long gone. Among narrow alleys and bustling markets stands the Kumari Gar, home to the living goddess, whose rituals still shape civic life. Few places on earth keep a child revered as a deity at the heart of political and spiritual ceremonies. Look up, and you will meet layers of woodwork so intricate that drawers of myth and history are hidden in every lintel and strut. Carvings of deities, dancers, and fantastical beasts form a stone and timber encyclopedia of Nepalese belief. Beneath the 17th century Taleju Temple, stepped platforms and courtyards recall festivals that cram the square with color and noise. Even scars from the 2015 earthquake tell a story of collapse, stubborn community revival, and the world's most painstaking restorations. Walk from Durbar into adjacent alleys, and you'll find ancient waterspouts called Hidioi still supplying neighborhoods as they did centuries ago. This continuity links living traditions here to the artisan quarters of Patan and Bhaktapur, where the same families carved these dials. The palace museums guard ritual objects, royal crowns, and everyday tools that speak to rule, commerce, and devotion in miniature. And when kings gave up thrones, the square didn't stop reshaping itself. It folded newer ceremonies into older stones. Photographers chase shafts of light through carved windows, but the most compelling images are the human ones: priests, pilgrims, and children at play. Each face is a living link between Kathmandu's medieval past and its bustling modern streets. A guided stroll from Durbar can carry you toward the pottery lanes of Bhaktapur or the quiet stupas of Swayambhunath, threading history into a single walk. In that walk, you begin to understand why these squares are not just relics, but active heartbeats of a city's identity. Conservationists here often blend traditional joinery with modern engineering to preserve timber beams while keeping their original joinery and finishes. It is meticulous, slow work. Sometimes recreating a single carved strut requires months of apprenticeship and the study of a single pattern. Local craftsmen often travel between Durbar, Patan, and Bhaktapur, carrying designs, pigments, and tools that tie the valley's workshops into a shared heritage economy. That interconnectedness is why a stroll from Kathmandu Durbar Square feels less like visiting an isolated site and more like tracing the threads of an entire civilization. Perched at 3,040 meters, Namche Bazaar sits above the Dudh Koshi Valley as the practical gateway to Mount Everest. This Sherpa trading hub doubles as the first true taste of high Himalayan life, where yak caravans meet solar panels on tin roofs. The town's winding streets and stone steps host a weekly market that for centuries linked traders carrying salt, tea, and wool from Tibet to the lowlands. Visitors often stop here to acclimatize, trading the flat plains for thin air and the slow rituals of mountain time. know that Namche once served as a customs post between Nepal and Tibet, shaping its blend of commerce and culture? Its Sherpa Cultural Museum preserves photographs and artifacts that reveal how mountaineering transformed the valley. Small bakeries and tea houses in Namche are famous for warm bread and strong coffee, comforts that feel almost miraculous at this height. From picnic benches outside rustic lodges, the horizon opens to Ama Dablam, Lhotse, and a teasing glimpse of Everest's gleaming summit. Unexpected modern touches appear too. The town has its own bank, satellite internet, and an airstrip for emergency helicopters. These services make Namche a rare high-altitude hub where traditional life and global rescue systems meet. Local guides share stories of early expeditions and of how Sherpa climbers transformed a trading town into the heart of Himalayan climbing. At dusk, prayer flags and headlamps scatter color and light across the valley as families gather after a day of trade and trekking. The path from Namche continues upward to Tengboche Monastery, where silence and prayer offer a different kind of view. This easy progression from market to monastery shows why Namche is more than a stop over. It is the cultural hinge of the Khumbu. Locals welcome curious travelers. Their stories stay with you. High above the Kali Gandaki, Upper Mustang is a rare cold desert where winds carved red sandstone canyons and preserved Tibetan landscapes. Do you know Upper Mustang remained closed to foreigners until 1990 and still restricts access to protect its culture? Walk through the walled capital, Langtang, and you step into a living museum of prayer wheels, butter lamps, and murals unaltered by mass tourism. The valleys hide caves painted with ancient tantric iconography and tiny white gampas perched on cliffs as if glued by time. Locals still speak an old dialect of Tibetan and maintain salt trade routes that once connected Nepal to Mustang's forgotten Silk Road. Horses and donkeys carry supplies across narrow passes, while windswept plateaus bloom with rare alpine herbs sought by traditional healers. From the red cliffs of Tangbay to the stark lunar valleys beyond, each turn reveals layered geology and hidden monasteries carved into the rock. Thin air and dramatic light make sunrise over the Mustang Plateau feel otherworldly. Yet every stone tells a human story. Governance by long-standing local leaders preserves festivals such as Tiji, where masked dances reenact ancient tales of protection and peril. Despite its remoteness, scientific teams have mapped unique microclimates here, finding endemic plants and fragile soils that demand careful travel practice. Photographers chase light along the gorge that drains the Himalaya, but those who linger discover shared tea with villagers and stories etched in prayer flags. Every permit, every guiding choice here shapes whether Mustang remains a protected pocket of memory or becomes another erased landscape. In the end, Upper Mustang resists easy labels. It is desert and monastery, frontier and sanctuary, an ecosystem and living archive. Stay with us as we trace hidden trails, unseal cave doors, and listen to voices that have kept Mustang's secrets. Langtang National Park cradles one of the planet's rarest vertical tapestries, where subtropical forests and then to glaciers within a span of a few kilometers. Do you know Langtang's Gosain Kunda lakes are both a pilgrimage site and a high-altitude hydrological wonder that feeds rivers far below? The valley is guarded by Langtang Lirung, a granite sentinel whose faces change color with each passing hour. Gyeongjin Gompa and its yak pastures sit below, where Buddhist monks and yak herders read the weather by watching cloud shadows on the ice. This is one of the few places where red pandas slip through rhododendron understories, while snow leopards ghost the ridgelines above. Rare medicinal plants cling to cliff faces, and entire micro-ecosystems exist in pockets carved by avalanches and meltwater. Tamang villages stitch human life into the landscape, with ancient Eru agricultural terraces and prayer flags that map family histories. Every stream, meadow, and monastery here tells a chapter of Nepal's mountain story, joining with lower valleys to form a continuous narrative of survival and celebration. In winter, the silence becomes almost complete, and the conservation work shifts to preparing species and communities for harsher seasons. Langtang is a place that insists on being listened to, and those who listen carry its lessons back to cities and plains. The sacred garden of Lumbini rests in Nepal's Terai floodplain, a rare lowland where remnant sal forest meets ancient marshes and rice terraces, giving the birthplace of the Buddha an unexpectedly wild edge. Do you know Lumbini still protects a spring and pond called Puskarini that pilgrims say Queen Maya used before giving birth, and that its water has been venerated continuously for over 2 millennia? Here, a simple brick marker and the Maya Devi temple shelter, the exact spot identified by archaeologists, and an Ashokan pillar inscription as the place where Siddhartha Gautama was born. Less known is that when Emperor Ashoka visited in the 3rd century BCE, he left a stone pillar that still stands, its inscription one of the clearest ancient confirmations of Lumbini's significance. Excavations beneath the temple have revealed foundations and relics dating to the time of the historic Buddha, suggesting continuous veneration from the Iron Age through the present. Walk the silent paths through the monastic zone, and you'll pass monasteries donated by nations across Asia, each interpreting the Buddha's life in different architectural voices. On one side, Nepal's Buddhist designs echo local wood and brick traditions. On the other, Japan, China, Thailand, and others have erected temples that feel like miniature homelands. This convergence makes Lumbini not just a birthplace, but a living map of Buddhism's spread and adaptation across climates and cultures. Archaeologists keep finding surprises: post holes and ancient timber platforms the size of shrines, hinting at wooden sanctuaries that predate surviving stone structures. That fragile continuity is why UNESCO inscribed Lumbini as a World Heritage Site, and why conservationists now balance pilgrimage infrastructure with wetland and forest restoration. From here, the story stretches northwest to Tilaurakot, the ancient Kapilavastu, where the prince grew into the man who would renounce the palace, connecting birthplace to boyhood across a landscape still visible today. Visit Lumbini, and you stand on a point where archaeology, devotion, and living nature intersect, and where every prayer is set against the slow rhythm of marsh, forest, and human memory. It is carved into clay bricks and wooden beams in places like Bhaktapur Durbar Square, where centuries of artistry resist the rush of time. Step into Bhaktapur, And the first thing that strikes you is the warm, honeyed brickwork, each building a page from the medieval Kathmandu Valley. Here, Nuar artisans perfected a language of latticed windows, carved struts, and turned pillars that tell myths, histories, and royal ambitions. The five-story Neatapola Temple stands as a defiant vertical hymn, built in 1702, and surviving earthquakes that toppled less mindful structures. Around it, courtyards open into narrow alleys where pottery wheels keep turning the same way they did centuries ago. Bhaktapur's palace squares preserve living rituals, festivals, masked dances, and daily worship that fold the city into Nepal's spiritual map. From here, the thread of craft pulls you toward Patan and Kathmandu, other valley centers where woodcarvers and metalworkers trade techniques and stories. Every doorframe and window lintel is stamped with lineage, the names of guilds, patrons, and the gods they honored. Even the smallest shrine holds elaborate iconography, a concentrated atlas of the valley's belief and artistic code. Walking Bhaktapur's lanes at dusk, the light reveals centuries of repairs, layers of devotion invisibly protecting heritage. And as you move toward the valley's next square, you begin to see how Nepal's natural extremes shaped its human architecture: compact, ornate, and resilient. In Taumadi Tole, potters fire their kilns as their ancestors did, filling alleys with aromatic smoke and turning clay into lineage. Nearby, the Golden Gate and the 55-window palace display layers of gilding and carved narratives that mark centuries of royal ceremony. Festivals like Biscuit Jatra transform the square into living theater, where chariots, masks, and songs remake history each spring. In the rain shadow of Annapurna, Nepal hides one of the world's rarest high-altitude valleys, Manang Valley. Do you know Manang supports isolated terraced fields, ancient gompas, and barley that ripens above 3,500 meters, creating an island of cultivation among jagged peaks? The valley is a living museum where Tibetan culture, Himalayan ecology, and mountaineering history intertwine with astonishing closeness. Walk its mule tracks and you cross stone villages like Braga and Kangsar, where prayer flags stitch sunlight to stony slopes. Manang's skies are startlingly clear, turning the Milky Way into a bright river above lodges that have hosted pilgrims and explorers for generations. Yet beneath that clarity lies a fragile balance. Glacial melt and thin soils have shaped every field, house, and prayer wheel. The river that carves the valley runs cold and swift, fed by Annapurna glaciers whose rhythms dictate planting seasons and festival dates. From little settlements, trails braid upward toward the Thorongla Pass and downward toward the Kali Gandaki Gorge, linking Manang to Mustang and beyond. Local farmers still herd yaks and mend roofs with stones quarried from the very ridgelines that frame their lives. Monasteries hold manuscripts and chants that map ancient trade routes, once used by salt caravans crossing these high passes. You will see how Manang's quiet resilience tells a larger story about climate, culture, and the unbroken roots that tie Nepal's high world together. Prepare to discover hidden chapels and the faces of nomads whose laughter echoes across stone terraces. Their footprints mark the same tracks that caravans used centuries ago, connecting Manang's past to the wider Himalaya. Everest Base Camp perches on the edge of the Khumbu Glacier, beneath a mountain that keeps changing. Mount Everest's southern face towers above a landscape of shifting ice. Do you know that the Khumbu icefall near Everest Base Camp moves so erratically that entire climbing routes can vanish or reappear within days, rewriting mountaineering history? Approaching from Lukla and winding through Namche Bazaar, the path to base camp slides between rhododendron forests and high alpine tundra, each village a step higher into thin air. Sherpa settlements, like Tengboche, mark a spiritual threshold where prayer flags stitch the sky to the rocks and monasteries watch over the valley like saint guardians. By the time trekkers reach Gorak Shep, the last settlement before the glacier, the world narrows to wind, stone, and the constant distant roar of ice. From here, the trail melts into raw glacial moraine and blue ice scars, leading to base camp tents that huddle like indices on a frozen shore. Everest Base Camp is both a launchpad for summit dreams and a graveyard of history. Flags, plaques, and weathered equipment tell stories of triumph and loss. Descending, the route reconnects to human life. Tea houses in Namche, laughter at lower elevations, and the hum of markets that contrast sharply with the camp's stark silence. Everest Base Camp is a place where geology, culture, and weather conspire to teach humility, where each season rewrites the same route in new and surprising ways. To truly understand Nepal's high country, the journey to base camp must be read not as an endpoint, but as a junction that links mountain villages, sacred sites, and the planet's slow geological drama. Modern rescue helicopters and weather stations now track the mountain's moods, but the human stories, letters, photographs, and whispered recollections are what anchor Everest Base Camp in memory. As you leave the camp and descend toward the green folds below, the contrast between the frozen amphitheater and bustling valleys becomes a living story of adaptation and reverence. Chitwan National Park protects one of the last intact subtropical lowland jungles in the Himalayan foothills, where dense sal forests meet grasslands and braided rivers rarely found this far north. Do you know Chitwan National Park helped bring the greater one-horned rhinoceros back from the brink, expanding its numbers from a handful to well over 1,000 through groundbreaking anti-poaching and community programs? Here, elephants pad through elephant grass, while secretive Bengal tigers slip between tree trunks, making every trek feel like stepping into a living, breathing mosaic. The park is also one of the planet's last strongholds for the gharial, a fish-eating crocodilian with a dagger-like snout that seems almost prehistoric. Birdwatchers will find more than 500 species, from painted storks along the riverbanks to flocks of bar-headed geese that fly over the Himalaya on migration. Researchers still discover small marvels, frogs with unusual calls, beetles adapted to flooded grasslands, and plants that bloom only after monsoon pulses. The Tharu people, whose villages fringe the park, hold traditions shaped by the jungle, including crop cycles timed to the river and stories that name every river bend. Once thought immune to malaria, many Tharu families have centuries-old knowledge of medicinal herbs and intimate ecological wisdom that helped modern conservation succeed. Conservation here is not just fences and rangers. It's an intricate partnership of local livelihoods, community forests, and guided ecotourism that turns former poachers into protectors. In Chitwan, you don't just see wildlife. You witness a conservation experiment that continues to evolve with every new season. So when your journey moves on, carry Chitwan's lessons to higher valleys and sacred shrines, because the threads that connect Nepal's wild heart run deeper than maps suggest. The next chapter awaits: quiet monasteries and mountain lakes where the echoes of these lowland jungles still whisper across the range. From the terraces of Swayambhunath, you can see Kathmandu Valley, folded like a living map. Cobwebbed with prayer flags, the whitewashed stupa crowns a hill that has watched emperors rise and fall. Dozens of squat monkeys patrol the ancient stone steps as if they are guardians appointed centuries ago. Pilgrims spin brass prayer wheels, while saffron-clad monks chant beneath the painted watchful eyes of the Buddha. Swayambhunath's central stupa dates back more than 2 millennia in legend, rebuilt and revered through countless restorations. The site fuses Hindu and Buddhist rites so seamlessly that devotees of both faiths share the same sacred path. Look closely, and you will find tiny shrines hidden in overgrown nooks, each with its own whispered story. Ancient inscriptions, worn by hands and weather, still map pilgrimages of kings, traders, and foreign devotees. During festivals, the hill becomes a living mosaic of ritual, incense, and color that defies any postcard image. Monks in crimson robes negotiate space with mischievous macaques that snatch fruit, and occasionally a tourist's camera strap. Beyond the stupa, Tibetan monasteries cluster like pages of a manuscript, their murals alive with tantric symbols. From dawn until dusk, sound unspools here. The clang of bells, low recitations, and the rattle of bead malas. Swayambhunath's famous eyes are a riddle. Each glance balances compassion with the endless gaze of history. Below them, stacked rows of small stupas and carved niches create a miniature cosmos to circle and contemplate. Descend through prayer-flagged alleys toward the bustling markets of the valley, carrying with you the temple's scent of resin. The temple's terraces serve as a natural observatory, revealing Kathmandu's roofs, rivers, and distant Himalayan silhouette on clear mornings. Few places let you touch living continuity so directly, where ancient rituals adapt to modern crowds without losing their pulse. Stay long enough, and the monkeys will teach you their casual rule. Here history is communal, not museum-locked. In the rain shadow of Annapurna, Nepal hides one of the world's rarest high-altitude valleys, Manang Valley. Do you know Manang supports isolated terraced fields, ancient gompas, and barley that ripens above 3,500 meters, creating an island of cultivation among jagged peaks? The valley is a living museum where Tibetan culture, Himalayan ecology, and mountaineering history intertwine with astonishing closeness. Walk its mule tracks, and you cross stone villages like Braga and Kangsar, where prayer flags stitch sunlight to stony slopes. Manang's skies are startlingly clear, turning the Milky Way into a bright river above lodges that have hosted pilgrims and explorers for generations. Yet beneath that clarity lies a fragile balance. Glacial melt and thin soils have shaped every field, house, and prayer wheel. The river that carves the valley runs cold and swift, fed by Annapurna glaciers whose rhythms dictate planting seasons and festival dates. From little settlements, trails braid upward toward the Thorong La Pass and downward toward the Kali Gandaki Gorge, linking Manang to Mustang and beyond. Local farmers still herd yaks and mend roofs with stones quarried from the very ridgelines that frame their lives. Monasteries hold manuscripts and chants that map ancient trade routes, once used by salt caravans crossing these high passes. You will see how Manang's quiet resilience tells a larger story about climate, culture, and the unbroken roots that tie Nepal's high world together. Prepare to discover hidden chapels and the faces of nomads whose laughter echoes across stone terraces. Their footprints mark the same tracks that caravans used centuries ago, connecting Manang's past to the wider Himalaya. Everest Base Camp perches on the edge of the Khumbu Glacier, beneath a mountain that keeps changing. Mount Everest's southern face towers above a landscape of shifting ice. Do you know that the Khumbu icefall near Everest Base Camp moves so erratically that entire climbing routes can vanish or reappear within days, rewriting mountaineering history? Approaching from Lukla and winding through Namche Bazaar, the path to base camp slides between rhododendron forests and high alpine tundra, each village a step higher into thin air. Sherpa settlements, like Tengboche, mark a spiritual threshold where prayer flags stitch the sky to the rocks and monasteries watch over the valley, like saint guardians. By the time trekkers reach Gorak Shep, the last settlement before the glacier, the world narrows to wind, stone, and the constant distant roar of ice. From here, the trail melts into raw glacial moraine and blue ice scars, leading to base camp tents that huddle like indices on a frozen shore. Everest Base Camp is both a launchpad for summit dreams and a graveyard of history. Flags, plaques, and weathered equipment tell stories of triumph and loss. Descending, the route reconnects to human life. Tea houses in Namche, laughter at lower elevations, and the hum of markets that contrast sharply with the camp's stark silence. Everest Base Camp is a place where geology, culture, and weather conspire to teach humility, where each season rewrites the same route in new and surprising ways. To truly understand Nepal's high country, the journey to base camp must be read not as an endpoint, but as a junction that links mountain villages, sacred sites, and the planet's slow geological drama. Modern rescue helicopters and weather stations now track the mountain's moods, but the human stories, letters, photographs, and whispered recollections are what anchor Everest Base Camp in memory. As you leave the camp and descend toward the green folds below, the contrast between the frozen amphitheater and bustling valleys becomes a living story of adaptation and reverence. Only in Nepal do tropical jungles sit within the same national borders as 8 of the world's 14 peaks over 1,000 meters. Do you know the Kali Gandaki Gorge slices between Dhaulagiri and Annapurna, creating one of the planet's deepest river valleys and a natural corridor that shaped ancient trade and salt caravans? Follow that gorge downstream, and you arrive at Mustang, a high desert of wind-carved cliffs and chiseled monasteries that preserve Tibetan culture like a living museum. From Mustang, the route folds toward Pokhara, where mirrored lakes rest beneath Machapachari's jagged silhouette, and trekkers prepare to enter the Annapurna Massif. Hiking toward Annapurna Base Camp, you pass terraces worked for generations, each contour directing meltwater into canals that sustain villages below. Those same streams thread into the Kali Gandaki, a physical link that turns geological drama into daily life for farmers and traders. Kathmandu's congested temples and timbered squares sit at the heart of these networks, where pilgrims and merchants converge and then disperse into the hills. A few hours west, Rara Lake holds a cobalt silence, a highland basin whose clear surface belies a fragile ecosystem shaped by isolated winters. From Rara, the landscape descends to the Terai and Chitwan, where tall grasses hide rhinos and tigers, and rivers lay sediment that feeds the Kathmandu and Pokhara valleys. Crossing those plains brings you to Lumbini, an unadorned grove marking the birthplace of the Buddha, and a reminder of how spiritual routes map onto physical ones. Each place is a chapter in the same story, gorges to deserts, lakes to jungles, stitched together by water, wind, and the rhythms of people who move between them. In the next segments, we will trace one fated caravan path from Mustang back toward Kathmandu, revealing relics, rituals, and the unexpected ways mountain weather and market demand rewrite lives. You will meet farmers, monks, and guides who keep these connections alive. And you will see how a single storm high on an Annapurna shoulder can ripple down to reshape a rice harvest in the Terai. By the end, Nepal will stop being a collection of postcards and emerge as a living network where every ridge, river, and road changes the next place it touches. And you will be left asking which routes will survive the coming changes, which traditions will bend, and what we owe to the fragile ties that bind mountain to plain. As our journey through Nepal draws to a close, the last light slips from the ridgelines of the Himalaya, and the rivers keep whispering their ancient maps. From the sheen of Lake Phiwa in Pokhara to the braided floodplains of the Kosi, every landscape we visited is stitched together by the same dramatic uplift and relentless water. We traced Sherpa trails up to Everest's lower approaches and then descended into rhino-haunted grasslands where elephant paths carve the earth. We moved from the stone stupas of Kathmandu, where carved gods watch centuries of festival fire, to the tranquil Buddha gardens of Lumbini, where a promise of peace quietly expands. Along the way, we met artisans who keep age-old metalwork and pauba painting alive, and farmers who coax miracle crops from terraces clinging to impossibly steep hills. We tasted the spice and warmth of Nuwari kitchens, heard the bell-like cadence of temple hymns, and watched yak caravans wind like time-laden threads across moraines. Nepal's natural systems, glaciers, monsoons, forests, and floodplains, are not just backdrops but lifelines that sustain and challenge its people. That fragile balance is visible in every village and valley, reminding us that conservation here is both urgent and deeply personal. There are more secrets left to find. Hidden alpine lakes that mirror the highest peaks, forgotten trade passes that reveal unexpected biodiversity, and stories in languages that refuse to disappear. If you leave Nepal thinking you have seen it all, you will have only skimmed its surface. The true country keeps changing with the seasons and with the people who care for it. So carry this image of layered horizons and living traditions home, and let it shape the way you travel, gently, curiously, and with respect. Return someday, or support the communities and conservation efforts that safeguard these wild and human treasures, because the most lasting souvenir is a place that keeps thriving.